Hi, my name is Barry Thornton, and I've been yachting deep sea for many, many years. And I must tell you that doing this sort of yachting out at sea, and I did a lot of my yachting off Africa on the east coast, where it's regarded as being one of the areas where the big ships break their backs and get lost and sink because of the huge waves there. So I can tell you, when you sit, my parents had a flat about on the 22nd, 23rd floor, and we could look out from the flat and see the huge waves on the horizon. There really were big waves. So when you've been out in those waves, you particularly understand how brave these men are to go out and get that. Look, yes, they earn money, but after all, that's the nature of the game. And they will go out and get that stuff, and they live on the edge. They really do live on the edge on those boats. I mean, some of those ships are pretty big, and they roll over in the waves, and the whole crew is lost. Well, that doesn't happen very likely. Those are pretty big ships, and they roll over because the huge sea's there. So some of the remarks I've seen on these sites are very disappointing, because it just shows those heroes, armchair heroes, if they get out there, they in actual fact appreciate how frightening it is. Now, one of the things I'd like to say is that when those engines start in those boats, they spend a lot of time, chugging along, and probably sometimes 2, 3, 4 weeks they might be out there in some ships, going out to fish, because they go quite long distances sometimes, and with that you use a lot of fuel, because from that engine you run all the hydraulic systems, the generators, the pumps, everything that goes on that ship, the cooking, etc., comes from that. All the lighting, the air conditioning, the heating, cooling, etc., all comes from those engines. And there's a lot of fuel used. And what I would like to suggest to these men, because I understand the cost of this, because in yachts you didn't run the engine as much because you got most of your sail power, but on a boat like that, they use it all the time. I would like to suggest that they look at these things. These are called fuel savers, and they are actually fuel cells. That just shows you the bits and pieces coming out of it. And there you've got this fuel cell, you've got the bubbler over here, which is that thing there, that's the bubbler. So I would like to suggest that they really look at these things, because this can save up to 40% on fuel. And this is a larger one, which if you see, we've got 2 fuel cells on that header tank there. Now you can actually put 4, 5, 6 in a row in a container, and that header tank is designed so that when they are in actual fact running, that header tank there is full of electrolyte, and as the electrolyte disappears out of the fuel cells down here, there's a level, and that allows the electrolyte from the header tank to go down into the fuel cell, and therefore keep the level at the right level. And that way, you're not constantly topping up, because you've got a system, and that system allows it to be topped up. I would like to suggest that they look seriously at putting these on their boats, because they can save 40%. And these can do for trucks, they can do for anything, big diesel engines on trains, on static engines for generation, for pumps, etc. And on cars, etc. But on cars you use the smaller one just like that, not the larger one with all these attachments. One of the things I'd like to give to you is our telephone number here. Seems a bit primitive, but it works, and that shows you a fuel saver fuel cell, our website address there, www.tfuelcell.com, and the email contact@tfuelcell.com, the international telephone number for those people who are offshore or off Britain, and when you want to phone from UK, 0845 057 7819. Now, one of the things I'd just like to tell you is that within the fuel cell there is an oxygen element, and we tried everything to make sure the oxygen element didn't go, and we even used titanium. It just failed miserably, because it is sacrificial, and there's nothing you can do about it. So rather than actually continue down that road, we realized it is sacrificial. So it's very much like a fuel, and it sacrifices, and all you've got to do is every now and again change that. It's the only thing that's got to be changed, and just slots out, and you put the new one in. That's a very simple thing to do, and it's cost very little by comparison with the thousands of pounds worth of fuel you may have saved. Anyway, there we are. Thank you very much for listening.